Over on Jaguar Gator 8, a new college football video is out. In this video, we talk about the 1995 CarQuest Bowl between West Virginia and South Carolina, and how a bizarre controversy led the title sponsor, CarQuest, to try and keep West Virginia out of the bowl in the dumbest way imaginable. Click the card in the upper right corner to watch. And join me tomorrow night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes. Link to play below. And now, on with our feature presentation. Over a year ago, I put out a video called The Craziest Field Goal in Atlanta Falcons History. If you want to learn more about the specifics of how that kick went down, click the card in the upper right corner. However, here's a brief synopsis, and the Spark Notes or the Cliff Notes version of it. On November 12, 1989, the Atlanta Falcons were traveling to Candlestick Park to take on the defending Super Bowl champion San Francisco 49ers in an NFC West matchup. During pregame warmups, kicker Paul McFadden got injured and was unable to play. And considering the fact that their punter had no kicking experience whatsoever, the Falcons were playing this game against the best team in the NFL without a field goal kicker. Facing 4th and goal at the 6-yard line in the first quarter, the Falcons decided to line up for a field goal, and they had starting quarterback Chris Miller, who had not kicked a field goal at any level since his junior year of high school in 1981, attempt the kick. And somehow, despite Miller not having attempted a field goal of any kind in a decade, and despite never practicing field goals with the Falcons, he made it. No clue how he made it, but he did. It was the only bright spot of the game for the Falcons, as they got obliterated by losing 45-3. But more than 3 decades later, the game lives on in NFL history for that one moment. I think having your starting quarterback attempt a field goal completely out of nowhere will always be the craziest kick in the history of the Falcons franchise. However, this might be a close second, and this was the undisputed champion of the franchise before Miller made his kick. This situation was nothing short of absurd. You had a kicker who got hurt during pregame warmups, was in the locker room getting treatment, and then ran back onto the field to attempt a field goal before going right back into the locker room. And if that doesn't sound crazy enough, how he ran on the field truly takes this bizarre saga to the next level. This is the story behind the strangest, or the second craziest field goal attempt in the over half-century-long history of the Atlanta Falcons franchise. Before I talk about the actual kick in question, we need some context to understand just who the kicker is, as well as the importance of this game. It's November 2nd, 1986, and we have an absolutely critical game on our hands in Week 9 of the NFL season between the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots. This would be the biggest game in NFL history between the Falcons and the Patriots. Can't think of any other games that come to mind. Anyways, at the halfway point of the season, while things were looking great for both of these teams, neither of these teams could really afford to lose this game if they wanted to maintain their hold on the playoff picture. For the Patriots, the reigning AFC champions, they entered this game at 5-3. While that's obviously a very good record to have, it was also tied with 6 other teams in the AFC for one of the 2 wildcard spots. Lose this game, and not only are you in the bottom part of an absolute dogfight for the wildcard, but your odds of winning the AFC East, since the Jets are 2 games ahead at 7-1, drop dramatically. As for the Falcons, after back-to-back seasons with a 4-12 record, they've stunned a ton of people with their incredible first half of the year, where they're sitting at 5-2-1. However, much like the Pats, they were in a dogfight for the wildcard, as both Dallas and Washington were ahead of them and holding on to the wildcard spots, along with 2 other teams being tied with them at 5 wins. The winner of this game pushes themselves into the playoff picture above the line, while the loser is on the outside looking in for the second half of the season, where even though there is definitely time to overcome this gap, it's obviously not an ideal situation. And one of the reasons why the Falcons were doing so well in the first half of the season was because of the play of this man right here. This is their kicker, Mick Luckhurst. He had been the team's kicker since 1981, and had been a fairly reliable option for most of his career, hitting somewhere in the ballpark of 75% of his kicks, which was a good percentage back then. But in 1986, even though the stats might not show it, and might show that his numbers took a bit of a dip from an accuracy standpoint, make no mistake about it, Mick Luckhurst was clutch, and came up big whenever the Falcons needed him most. In their shocking 37-35 victory over the Dallas Cowboys in Week 3, regarded by some as one of the best games of the entire 1986 season, Luckhurst hit 3 field goals, including the game-winning kick with 20 seconds left. The following week, in a 23-20 overtime victory against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he went 3 for 3, hitting the game-tying field goal with no time left in regulation from 34 yards out, and then hitting the game-winning field goal in overtime from 34 yards out again. And against the Los Angeles Rams 2 weeks later in Week 6, in a 26-14 victory where the Falcons won by 12 points, he went 4 for 4, with 2 of those field goals coming from more than 40 yards out. That game was just the second time in his career that he went 4 for 4 or better. And man, what a good time to have a career-best performance. So entering the second half of the 1986 season, I think it's fair to say that everything was going well for both Mick Luckhurst and for the Falcons as a team. Heck, the day of this Falcons Patriots game, a newspaper in Oregon of all places ran a photo with the caption, "Mick Luckhurst and his Atlanta Falcons are the surprise of the league so far," which tells you everything you need to know about how both his and his team's season was going. However, as great as things were going, they were about to hit a massive bump in the road. Because before the game, in pregame warmups, somehow, Luckhurst got hurt and suffered back spasms after he slipped and fell on the turf at Sullivan Stadium. Just 45 minutes before the game, he was jogging and fell to the ground. As Luckhurst said on the incident, "I've never seen anything like it. I just went to run, just jogging. I didn't do anything to warrant this happening, and then it felt like someone in the stands had just shot me, and I just dropped. I couldn't move." When Luckhurst fell to the ground, he knew something was wrong, but no one else on the team knew what was happening. Luckhurst couldn't get back to his feet, so he just lay down on the ground helplessly, not saying a word. All he could muster out were a few whimpers, because if he tried to shout out his pain, it would be too painful, and would hurt his back even more. Even his teammates, who had no idea why their kicker was just lying on the ground beforehand, thought it was a joke. Maybe he was trying to become one with the surface or something, or maybe he was trying to meditate, or maybe he was truly trying to soak in the atmosphere. They thought he was joking so much that tight end Ken Whisenhunt, who was in a pretty good mood anyways, upon seeing Luckhurst on the ground, jumped over him, thinking it was a joke and thinking that he could get a good game of leapfrog in. When Whisenhunt did this, Luckhurst said, "Wiz, I can't move." Luckhurst said after the game on that pregame incident, he thought I was joking. While we don't have clips of the incident happening, and clips of Luckhurst falling to the ground, as the cameras were not rolling by that point 45 minutes before kickoff, we do have footage of Luckhurst having to be helped up off the field once teammates and trainers realized that this was serious. This was already going to be a tough game for the Falcons to win. Going on the road to a place where the Patriots had won 6 of their last 8 games dating back to 1985, and 8 of their last 11 dating back to 1984, was never going to be easy. And they were already 9-point underdogs, so Vegas thought they had a ton to prove against the defending AFC champions. Now, they were going to have to do it all without a field goal kicker. Or so they thought. Because what was about to happen during this game shocked just about everyone. Because amazingly enough, Luckhurst was going to try a field goal. And the way that it happened was nothing short of bizarre. Usually with a story like this, I tell you how the game was going before the field goal attempt in question. However, I don't really have to do that here, because it literally takes place on the first drive of the game, not even an hour after the incident. The Patriots kicked off to the Falcons to start off the ballgame, and while that was happening, Luckhurst was in the locker room getting treated, and was not on the sidelines with his team. First play from scrimmage, and David Archer hits Charlie Brown for a gain of 7. Nice, easy completion to start the drive. And 2 plays later, on 3rd and 2, Sylvester Stamps would plow his way forward up the middle for a first down. Not going 3 and out on the opening drive, especially against the number 1 defense in the AFC, as the Pats allowed just 115 points through their first 8 games for an average of just over 14 points per game, is always good. And the Falcons continue to not do anything fancy or deep down the field. On the next play, Archer takes the easy 5-yard completion to tight end Ken Whisenhunt, and 2 plays later, Archer makes this throw to Brown for a first down. You be the judge as to whether or not he actually caught this pass. I'm definitely leaning on the side of absolutely not, but regardless, the Falcons have the ball at midfield. That means that it's time to start thinking about what happens if 4th down happens, because again, your kicker is in the locker room and is injured. During this opening drive, Luckhurst is getting treatment and was getting shot up with drugs. However, he's watching the game and knows what's happening. How does he know this, though, if there's no TV in the room where he's being treated? Sullivan Stadium isn't exactly known for its accommodations, as it was an incredibly bare-bones stadium. So how did Luckhurst know what was happening? By pure coincidence, on Friday, 48 hours before the game, he decided to buy a tiny television for himself. We don't know exactly what it was, but my guess was that it was something like this, the Sharp Model 3LS36, which was somewhat revolutionary technology for its time. Luckhurst brought it to the game, and had it with him. When he got hurt, he pulled out that television and watched the action unfolding on his TV. Without that TV that he bought 48 hours before, he would have no idea what was happening. But as soon as the Falcons crossed midfield, while he was being treated, Luckhurst decided on his own accord to run out and join his team. He knew that they likely needed a field goal kicker, and needed someone to either kick a field goal or kick the extra point, and he was going to do it. And out of nowhere, he rejoined the team on the sideline a few plays after they crossed midfield. As Luckhurst said on the whole incident, "I was fortunate because I had this little tiny television with me. I never had one before, but I picked this up on Friday. It saved me, really, because when I was getting shot up with drugs, I could see what was happening. So I just ran out there on the field on my own." Sure enough, the Falcons' drive eventually stalled. After this play, which was a strip sack of David Archer that was fortunately recovered by Atlanta, the Falcons faced 4th down, and they decided to send Luckhurst out there for a 41-yard field goal. Remember, this was a guy dealing with back spasms, who had not been fully treated yet, who had not been cleared by the doctors to go back in, as he just went back on his own, who was only out there because he bought a television that weekend, and who was still in visible pain, limping and hobbling. And now here he was, somehow about to try a 41-yard field goal on a day where it was raining and where the winds were blowing at 18 miles per hour. Well, what happens next is nothing short of remarkable. Prepare yourself for what has to be, considering the circumstances, one of the craziest field goal attempts in the history of the Atlanta Falcons. Roll the tape.
So Luckhurst, who suffered back spasms in the warm-up, will attempt from the 31-yard line. And he has it. A 41-yard field goal by Mick Luckhurst, and Atlanta opens the scoring on their opening series. You can see him looking a little sore as he comes off the field, but he did the job. Atlanta in front.
It wasn't exactly pretty, but it got the job done. The Falcons, on their opening drive of the game, led it 3-0, thanks to an absolutely heroic and remarkable field goal attempt from the Englishman. And after the kick, Luckhurst went back into the locker room. He showed up for one play, then left to continue getting treated and to continue getting shot up with drugs. One report said that he was visibly aching on his way back to the locker room. It's hard enough as it is to make a 41-yard field goal, but to do it in those weather conditions, and to do it under the pain that he was in, I have no clue how he did that. Unfortunately, this was about the only bright spot for the Falcons on this day, as they lost it 25-17, with the Falcons leading 10-9 at the half before allowing 16 straight points. I should also note that there was a highly controversial play in this game after this play, which was originally ruled a touchdown for the Falcons, got overturned to an incomplete pass. The fact that it got overturned might not be the controversial part, as it clearly looks incomplete to me. The problem was that the review took literally 5 minutes and 28 seconds to conduct. Instant replay back in 1986 was a mess. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. That play would have given them a ton of momentum, as the Pats didn't exactly play well in the first half. Instead, the Falcons came up empty-handed on that drive. And unfortunately for Luckhurst, that incredible field goal he had on the opening drive was one of the last bright spots of his career. He tried 2 more kicks in this game for some reason, and went 0 for 2 on them, and then hit just 60% of his field goals for the rest of his career before never playing again after 1987. Still, it was a heck of a career for Luckhurst, as he ended his career, at the time, as the all-time leading scorer in Falcons history. And anytime you can play close to a decade in the NFL and put up the numbers that he did, that is a heck of an accomplishment. But of all the 115 field goals that he made in his career, this one against the Patriots has to be, without a doubt, the craziest of them all. Kicking from 40-plus yards and 18-mile-per-hour winds is no small feat. And to do it while dealing with back spasms, while being in the middle of treatment, while being in intense pain, while not exactly being authorized by the doctors to try the kick and halt the treatment, and while only knowing about the circumstances regarding field position because of a possible impulse buy that you made that weekend, it doesn't get a whole lot crazier than that. Because at least when it came to this kick, Mick Luckhurst had good luck on his side. Get your official Jaguar Gator 9 merchandise by going to jg9shop.com, and be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at Jaguar Gator 9. To see college football videos, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To see highlight videos of players throughout the history of the NFL, subscribe to JG9 Highlights. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. So you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.